I never wanted to be the kind of husband who snooped. I trusted her, maybe more than I trusted myself. But the night I heard her whispering in the hallway, everything changed. The whisper wasn't loud. It was the tone. Soft, careful, almost rehearsed. And it wasn't for me. When she came back into the bedroom, her face was calm, too calm, and she slipped her phone beneath her pillow like it was made of glass. "You're still awake?" she asked, her voice gentle. I nodded. "Bathroom woke me up." She smiled, brushing my hair with her fingers, and said the words that would haunt me for weeks. "Don't overthink it." Then she kissed my forehead, rolled over, and fell asleep almost instantly, while I lay staring at the ceiling, replaying the tone I heard in her whisper, afraid of what it meant. The next morning, sunlight poured through the curtains as if nothing had changed. She bounced around the kitchen, humming a song I didn't recognize as she made coffee. I sat at the counter watching her, trying to read her face. Was she hiding something? Or was I reading too much into nothing? She placed my mug in front of me and smiled. "You look tense," she said. "Rough night?" I shrugged, keeping my voice light. "Just couldn't sleep." She squeezed my shoulder. "You think too much," she teased. "Promise me you won't overthink everything." There was again. That phrase. Don't overthink. Funny how people only say that when there's something to hide. Later that afternoon, I came home from work early. Her car was in the driveway, but the house was quiet. I stepped inside, calling her name. No answer. As I walked toward the bedroom, I heard something, a faint vibration. Her phone. Buzzing repeatedly. I hesitated at the doorway. She'd left it on the bed. Screen down. Locked. Silent. The vibration eventually stopped. Then started again. I didn't touch it. Didn't flip it. Didn't check the notifications. But I stared at it like it had teeth. A minute later, the front door opened. "Oh, you scared me. I didn't know you were home," she laughed, placing shopping bags on the table. I forced a smile. "Got off early." She walked into the bedroom, saw her phone, and immediately slipped it into her back pocket. Not the nightstand. Not her purse. Her pocket. Then she kissed my cheek almost hurriedly. "You hungry?" she asked. "Not really." "Want to watch something?" "Maybe later." She nodded and went to the kitchen. I followed, watching. Something in her movements. The way she shielded her phone with her body. The way she kept glancing at it. She wasn't the same. That night, she put her phone on silent before bed. Not beside her. Under her pillow. Again. She turned to me and said, "Please don't overthink everything, okay? It's nothing." But she didn't look me in the eyes when she said it. I could feel every red flag waving at once. A few days passed. She became busier. More errands. More late-night work calls. More whispers. One evening, I stood in the hallway listening to her inside the bathroom. Her voice was low, urgent, like she didn't want the water running to drown her words. "No, I can't tonight. I told you. It's too risky." Something inside me shattered. She was talking to someone. Someone she didn't want me to know about. When she came out, her face was flushed. She jumped when she saw me. "Oh hey, didn't hear you there." I nodded slowly. "Everything okay?" She forced a laugh. "Just work stuff. Long day. You know." She touched my chest lightly, almost pleading. "Don't overthink it." Those words again. She used them like a shield. But the more she said them, the more certain I became. I wasn't crazy. Something was happening. That weekend, she said she needed to run errands. Just groceries and a little air. She left her purse on the counter as she rushed out. Not unusual. But her phone? Not there. I walked through every room. Bedroom. Kitchen. Living room. No phone. I froze. She took it with her. Always. I stood at the counter looking at her purse. The zipper was slightly open. Inside, her wallet sat where it always did. And beneath it, a small black phone. Not her regular one. A second phone. My heart stopped. A secret phone. The kind people only buy for things they don't want others to know. I didn't take it out. Didn't open it. Didn't even touch it. But I stared at it for a long time. The truth wasn't a question anymore. It was sitting there in a purse. My wife had a secret phone. When she came home an hour later, she looked nervous. Jumpier than usual. She kissed me, but it felt mechanical. While she unpacked the groceries, she kept her purse close. Protectively close. Like she knew I might have seen it. "Everything okay?" I asked casually. She nodded too fast. "Yeah. Just tired." That night she took a shower. I watched her purse sitting on the chair. I could hear water running. Her humming faintly. I could have looked. I could have opened it. I could have found everything. But I didn't. Not yet. When she came out, hair damp, she immediately grabbed the purse and took it to the bedroom. Something inside her was unraveling, thread by thread. She sat beside me in bed and placed her regular phone on the nightstand, while her purse, holding the secret one, remained on her side of the bed, zipped tight. She looked at me, eyes tired. "You're quiet," she whispered. "Just thinking." She flinched slightly. "Promise me you won't overthink?" I looked straight at her. "Should I?" She froze. Just for a second. Then she leaned over and kissed me. Hard. Desperate. Like she was trying to erase a truth she knew was crawling out. But truth doesn't disappear just because someone tells you not to look. It waits. Silent. Patient. Until you're ready. And I was getting there. Fast. Because my wife's secret phone proved one thing. I wasn't crazy. Not even a little. I barely slept that night. Every time she shifted in bed, the purse on her side rustled softly, reminding me of the phone she hadn't meant for me to see. Her breathing was calm, steady, too peaceful for someone hiding something this big. Meanwhile, my mind screamed. Around 3 a.m., she turned toward me, wrapping her arm across my chest. I stayed still, pretending to be asleep. Her fingers rested there gently, familiar, warm, yet suddenly foreign. I wondered if she sensed the distance between us, or if she felt close only because she believed I was still in the dark. Eventually, morning came. She rolled out of bed, kissed my cheek, and headed to the bathroom. The purse went with her. Not the regular phone. The purse. She never used to take it everywhere. Now she carried it like a life vest. She got ready quickly, too quickly, and grabbed coffee on her way out the door. "I might be late tonight," she said. "For work?" I asked. She hesitated. "Yeah, work." Then she left. I stood there for a long time just staring at the closed door. I didn't want to tell anyone, not yet, but I couldn't keep all of this in my head. So I called my best friend Tyler. He answered on the second ring. "Yo, everything good?" I hesitated, then said quietly, "Not really." He heard something in my tone and shifted serious immediately. "Talk to me." I told him everything. The whispering, the excuses, the secret phone. He didn't interrupt, not once. When I finished, he let out a slow breath. "Man, I'm sorry." I ran a hand down my face. "I don't know what to do." "Well, first thing, we need facts. You don't want to confront her blind. I feel crazy even talking about this." "You're not crazy," he said. "She's hiding something. A second phone isn't normal." I nodded even though he couldn't see me. He continued, "Don't go digging. Don't touch her stuff. Just pay attention. See what she does." That made sense. I didn't want to be the villain. I didn't want to win by sneaking. I just wanted the truth. That night, she came home later than usual. Close to 10 p.m. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup freshened. Not the look of someone exhausted from work. I was sitting on the couch when she walked in. She paused at the doorway like she didn't expect me to still be awake. "Oh, hey," she said, forcing a smile. "Long day." I nodded. "Did you eat?" "Yeah. Just grabbed something earlier." She moved toward the bedroom quickly, too quickly. Her purse was still in her hand. I followed. She noticed and slowed, trying to seem casual. She set the purse on the dresser and began changing clothes, making small talk about her day. I watched her carefully. Everything about her was intentional, her tone, her words, her pace. Nothing felt natural. When I didn't respond much, she turned. "You're quiet," she said. "Just tired." She nodded, looking relieved rather than concerned. And that hurt. Over the next few days, I noticed new patterns. She took her purse everywhere, even to shower. She kept her phone upside down on the table. She flinched when notifications came in. She left the room to take calls. And every time I asked what was going on, she said the same thing. "Don't overthink it." I wanted to scream. Because what do you do when you see red flags everywhere, and the person waving them tells you you're imagining it? One evening she came home smiling, really smiling. Not the forced, nervous smile I'd been seeing lately. She tossed her purse onto the couch and wrapped her arms around me. "I missed you today," she whispered. Then she kissed me, slow, warm, familiar. It felt real. And that was confusing. I held her, breathing her in, trying to memorize the feeling. Trying to remind myself of who she was before all this. When she pulled away, she walked to the bathroom. The purse stayed on the couch. My heart kicked. This was the first time she'd left it unattended since I'd seen the second phone. But I didn't move. Didn't touch it. I just stared. She eventually came back out, purse in hand again. As if she'd remembered. Her eyes flicked toward me, reading my expression. "What's wrong?" she asked. I shrugged. "Nothing." She nodded, though not convinced, and headed to bed. The next morning something happened that changed everything. She forgot her purse. She was running late, hair half done, keys in one hand, coffee in the other. As she rushed out the door, she called back. "Love you. See you tonight." "Wait, your purse," I shouted. But she was already pulling out of the driveway. I stood there staring at the purse. Heavy. Silent. I didn't plan on touching it. I really didn't. I sat at the kitchen table and just stared at it. Minutes passed. The quiet in the house felt loud. I thought about everything. The whispers. The bathroom calls. The late nights. The new patterns. The second phone. And the phrase she kept repeating. "Don't overthink it." I wasn't overthinking. I was underreacting. Finally, I stood and walked over to the purse. My hands hovered above it, shaking. I could still walk away. Still pretend. Still trust blindly. But trust should never require blindness. So I opened it. Inside, the small black phone lay buried beneath her wallet. I pulled it out. Held it in my hand. It was off. Or dead. I wasn't sure. My fingers trembled as I pressed the power button. The screen lit up. No password. It unlocked instantly. My heart dropped. Because that meant one thing. She never expected me to find it. Meaning, it wasn't for hiding from me physically. It was for hiding from our life. As the home screen appeared, messages loaded quickly. The first thread was pinned. His name at the top. My breath caught. "Can't stop thinking about last night." The most recent message. Sent just this morning. My vision blurred. My chest tightened. And in that moment, the world I knew cracked. I wasn't crazy. Not even close. I was right. And the truth wasn't whispered anymore. It was written. In plain sight. I stared at the screen so long that the letters blurred. My hands felt numb, like they didn't belong to me. I read the message again, slower this time. "Can't stop thinking about last night." There was no way to misunderstand that. No way to pretend it meant something innocent. My heartbeat hammered against my ribs. I scrolled up. More messages appeared, days worth, maybe weeks. Wish I could have stayed longer. It was risky. Worth it. Each message clenched around my throat. With every line, something inside me shook loose. Trust, certainty, the foundation of my marriage. There were no pictures. No explicit messages. Nothing graphic. Yet somehow, that made it worse. It wasn't reckless lust. It was emotional. Secret. Intentional. She wrote things I didn't recognize. Inside jokes, playful replies, little hearts. Never once did she speak to me like that anymore. At some point I stopped breathing. When I finally inhaled, it felt sharp, heavy. A question pulsed in my mind. What did they mean by last night? She said she'd had a late work meeting. She said she grabbed dinner alone. Had she been with him? My jaw clenched. I checked the timestamps. Messages from that night were spaced between 7:14 p.m. and 9:03 p.m. The same window she wasn't home. The same night she'd come back smiling, too bright, too light. A wave of sickness rolled through me. I needed air. I dropped the phone into the purse and stepped outside. The cool morning air hit my skin, but it did nothing to calm the fire inside. Neighbors walked their dogs. Birds chirped. Everything looked normal. But normal was gone. I leaned against the railing, gripping it until my knuckles turned white. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stood there, frozen, realizing that the life I thought I had didn't exist. After who knows how long, I went back inside. The purse was still on the table, silent and small. I knew I couldn't tell her what I'd seen yet, not without thinking. Not without a plan. I needed clarity. I needed time. So I zipped the purse back up, placed it where she'd left it, and tried to pretend I hadn't touched it at all. She came home in the early afternoon, earlier than expected, stepping through the door like she wasn't carrying a storm. "Hey," she called. "I thought you'd be out." I forced a smile. "Just cleaning up." "Oh good. I forgot my purse. I've been freaking out about it all morning." She grabbed it from the table a little too quickly and pressed it to her chest. "You didn't look inside, did you?" she asked casually. But her eyes weren't casual. My heart lurched. But I kept my face still. "No," I said simply. She blinked, slower than normal, studying me longer than necessary. Was she checking my voice? My expression? Her shoulders relaxed slightly, like she believed me, which stung more than anything. She trusted that I wouldn't question her. Wouldn't suspect her. Wouldn't look deeper. Maybe that's why she had gotten so comfortable lying. She set the purse down, kissed me lightly, and said she had errands to finish. I nodded. Take your time. She smiled, soft, genuine, practiced. Then left again. As soon as the door shut, I sank onto the couch, head in my hands. My wife, the woman I shared a life with, had been somewhere last night with someone else. And now she was walking around like nothing happened. I felt like a ghost in my own home. That evening she returned with dinner, her favorite takeout. The same one she always suggested when she wanted to make things feel normal. She placed the bag on the table and hugged me from behind. Thought we could have a relaxing night together, she said. Her voice was warm, comforting, dangerous. I swallowed the anger burning at the back of my throat. Sure, I said. We ate. We watched a show. She laughed. I nodded. On the outside, everything looked perfect. But inside I was unraveling. She stretched out on the couch with her head on my lap. I played with her hair, wondering if he had done the same. Had he touched her? Held her? Sat this close? Every question stabbed deeper. At one point she looked up at me and said, "You've been quiet lately." I forced a smile. Just tired. She searched my face, then reached up and brushed my cheek with her thumb. "You worry too much," she whispered. "Don't overthink everything." That phrase again. And now that I knew what she was hiding, it felt like an insult. I wanted to shout. Stop telling me not to overthink when you're giving me every reason to. But the words stayed trapped behind my teeth. Eventually she went to shower. Again the purse went with her. I stayed on the couch, staring blankly at the TV screen. I couldn't live like this, pretending. But I also couldn't just erupt without clarity. Tyler's words echoed in my head. Don't confront her blind. So I needed to be sure. Not just about messages. Not just about whispers. I needed to know the truth about last night. Where she went. Who she was with. What she did. When she came out of the bathroom, hair damp and skin flushed, she smiled at me. "You coming to bed?" I nodded. We lay down together. She curled against me like nothing was wrong. I stared at the ceiling again. The same one I'd stared at the night she told me not to overthink. Only now, I wasn't wondering. I knew. And now that I knew, I had to find out how deep the lie went. Because whether she admitted it or not, her secret phone had already told the truth. I woke up before she did. The house was still, faint morning light creeping through the blinds. She slept peacefully beside me, unaware that everything between us had shifted. I watched her for a moment, not in a romantic way but in a searching one, trying to find the woman I thought I knew. Was she still in there? When she finally stirred, she stretched and smiled lazily. "Morning," she whispered. "Morning." She slipped out of bed, grabbed her purse, always the purse, and headed downstairs. I heard her making coffee, humming softly. The same calm behavior. The same routine. Only now, every ordinary gesture felt rehearsed. I walked into the kitchen. She handed me a mug like nothing was wrong. "What are your plans today?" she asked casually. "I'm meeting Tyler," I said. That part was true. "Oh nice," she replied, smiling. "Tell him I say hi." I nodded. She kissed me, grabbed her keys, and headed for the door. "Don't wait up," she said. "Might be late again." My stomach tightened, but I kept my face neutral. "No problem." She left. The moment her car turned the corner, I grabbed my jacket and keys. I wasn't going to follow her. Not yet. Instead, I met Tyler at a small diner across town. He could tell from the second I walked in that things had gotten worse. "You look like hell," he said quietly. "That's pretty close," I answered. We sat in a booth near the back. I told him about the second phone. About what I saw. About the messages. He didn't interrupt, just listened, jaw tightening. When I finished, he exhaled sharply. "Man, I'm sorry." I stared at my untouched coffee. "I still don't know what to do." "You need proof," he said. "Real proof. You need to know what's actually happening." "I already know." He shook his head. "You know there's something. But you don't know how far it went. And you'll never get answers from the person who's still lying." He wasn't wrong. "So what, private investigator?" I asked, half joking, half serious. Tyler leaned back. "I know a guy. He's low-key. Discreet." My stomach flipped. Was I really going to hire someone to follow my wife? But then I remembered the messages. The whispering. The lies. "I'll talk to him," I said quietly. Tyler nodded. "I'll send you his info." That night when she came home she was smiling. Too brightly. "You're still up?" she asked. "Yeah." "Couldn't sleep." She kissed me on the cheek. It felt like a stranger brushing past. We sat together on the couch. She showed me photos of a team dinner, pictures I knew were staged, group shots. But her eyes, she didn't look present in any of them. Looks fun, I said. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It was fine. She leaned against me. And again I wondered if he had been there, close, watching her, laughing with her. The thought twisted inside me. Later, she changed clothes and crawled into bed beside me. I lay awake again, heart pounding against the quiet. She whispered, "I love you." I wanted to believe it. I really did. But all I heard was, "Don't overthink it." The next afternoon, I met the investigator, a quiet older man named Harris who carried himself like someone who'd seen every kind of story. He asked for details, schedules, patterns, her workplace. I gave everything I knew. He nodded thoughtfully. "I'll start tomorrow," he said. "You'll know soon." It felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. That evening I cooked dinner. She came home earlier than usual, a surprise. She wrapped her arms around my waist from behind. "That smells good," she said softly. I forced a smile. "Thought we could eat together." We did. We talked. We joked. It almost felt normal. Almost. But she never let her purse out of her reach. After dinner, she showered, purse in hand, and I cleaned up the kitchen. When she came out, she sat beside me, towel around her hair. "Can we talk?" she asked. My chest tightened. "Sure." She looked down at her hands. "I feel like you've been distant," she said. "Like you're pulling away." The irony nearly knocked the breath out of me. "I just have a lot on my mind," I said carefully. She searched my face. "You promise everything's okay?" My pulse hammered. She wanted reassurance from the person she'd been lying to. "I hope so," I said honestly. She leaned in and kissed me, slow and deliberate, as if trying to convince both of us something was still real. When she pulled away, she rested her forehead against mine. "Don't overthink it," she whispered again. I closed my eyes. That phrase wasn't comfort anymore. It was a warning. The next day Harris texted me. She left work early. Not alone. My heart faltered. I stared at the message, fingers trembling. I typed back, "Who?" A moment later. Same man repeatedly. Tall. Dark hair. I sat down, breath shaking. Another text. "They're at a cafe. Corner booth. Talking closely." I felt cold. Like my blood had turned to ice. I called Tyler. He picked up immediately. "She's with him," I said, voice flat. "Where?" "A cafe. With him." "You want to go?" he asked. I closed my eyes. Pictured her sitting across from someone else. Smiling. Laughing. Making space for another man that used to be mine. "No," I said. "I'm not confronting her until I know everything." "Then we wait," he said gently. I nodded, though he couldn't see. We wait. Hours later, she came home with takeout and a bright smile. The same takeout she brought home the night of that message. "Thought we could relax," she said. My heart clenched. She sat beside me, close, warm, but not mine. Not really. As she talked about her day, I nodded. Listened. Pretended. All the while knowing. She wasn't telling me the truth. She hadn't been for a long time. And now, someone else was living in the parts of her heart I used to call home. I smiled anyway, because now I needed to see how far the lies would go. Her phone buzzed inside her purse. She didn't flinch. Didn't move. Just kept smiling. And I realized, she thought I still believed her. That was her biggest mistake. As soon, I would know everything. And then, silence would end. The next morning, I woke up early. Not because I couldn't sleep, but because I finally felt steady. Focused. I knew that every word, every movement mattered now. She came downstairs a little later, dressed neatly, hair tied, purse in hand, always the purse. "Morning," she said cheerfully. "Morning." She poured coffee and leaned against the counter, scrolling through her phone. Her face softened, the kind of gentle smile you give someone you trust, someone you care about. Except she wasn't looking at me. She didn't notice I was watching. Or maybe she didn't care. She slipped her phone into her purse quickly when she sensed me behind her. "Big day at work?" I asked casually. Yes. Meetings all day." I nodded, pretending to believe her. "Drive safe," I said. She gave me a quick kiss and left. As soon as the door clicked, I pulled my phone out and texted Harris. "She just left." He replied almost instantly. "On her. We'll update." I sat on the couch, coffee untouched, staring at nothing. The house felt too quiet, the kind of quiet that tells you something is shifting beneath the surface. An hour passed. Then my phone buzzed. She's not at work. I swallowed hard. Where? Downtown. Boutique hotel. My heart thudded. I typed fast. Alone? A minute passed. Then, no. A cold ache spread through my chest. I didn't need photos to know what that meant. The location alone was enough. But then another message came. Same man. Checking in together. I clenched my jaw. It was like reading a script I never auditioned for, a play where everyone else knew their lines, except me. I called Tyler. He answered on the second ring. Talk to me. She's at a hotel, I said quietly. With him. He didn't speak for a second. Then, do you want to go? I stared at the floor. No. Not yet. I felt strangely calm. I wasn't ready to explode. I wasn't ready to cry. I just wanted the truth to unfold all the way. So when it ended, it would end clean. What did Harris say next? Tyler asked. He's watching. Good. Let him work. We hung up and I sat there breathing slowly. Waiting. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, Harris sent another text. Room 417. I typed. Proof? He responded. Got photos. Sending soon. My stomach twisted. I didn't know if I wanted to see them, but I knew I would need them. I waited, staring at the screen, feeling like I was watching the last stability of my life cracking piece by piece. A new message came. She ordered room service. Staying a while. My throat tightened. I texted back. Don't let them see you. Of course. Then nothing. Just silence. Time dragged. I paced the living room. Looked out the window. Saturday. Stood again. Everything felt too small. Like the house was shrinking around me. Finally, there was a knock at the door. My chest seized. I walked slowly, unsure who I expected. When I opened it, Harris stood there, calm, collected, like this was just another Tuesday. He handed me a small envelope. Everything's in there, he said quietly. Photos, locations, times, dates. My hand shook as I took it. She's still there, he added. With him. I nodded, unable to speak. I'm sorry, he said. I forced a breath. Thank you. He left. I closed the door and stared at the envelope. It felt heavier than it looked. I sat at the table and opened it. Inside were printed photos. Grainy but clear enough. Her. Him. Together. Walking into the hotel. Standing at the elevator. Arm brushing his. Smiling at him. Not a nervous smile. Not an awkward one. A familiar one. Soft, comfortable. A smile I thought was only mine. My vision blurred. I set the photos down and rested my forehead against the table. The words she always used echoed in my head. Don't overthink it. I let out a humorless laugh. That phrase followed me like a haunting promise. There was nothing left to argue now. Nothing left to guess. It was real. I stayed there for a long time. Until I couldn't feel anything except numbness. Eventually, I picked up my phone and texted Tyler. I have proof. He responded immediately. I'm coming. I didn't tell him not to. I needed someone there, someone who knew me before the lies. He arrived 20 minutes later, walked in silently and sat beside me. Let me see, he said softly. I slid the photos toward him. He studied them, jaw tightening, eyes dark. I'm so sorry, he said. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. What are you thinking? He asked gently. I stared at the photos. I don't know yet. I feel like everything I knew was fake. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You know she lied. You know how far it went. You know who he is. You know where they are. That's more clarity than most people get. I nodded slowly. He continued. But you don't have to do anything today. You can breathe, think, plan. You're not alone. He meant it and I felt it. We sat quietly for a while. Then he said, when she comes home, are you going to talk to her? I exhaled. Yes. Tonight. Yes. It was time. Hours later, I heard her car pulling into the driveway. My heart pounded. I stood in the hallway, photos tucked under my arm. The door opened. She stepped in, smiling, but it faded when she saw me. You scared me, she said nervously. Did you have a good day? I asked. She blinked. Yeah. Long day. Meetings. I nodded. That's what you told me. She swallowed. I stepped closer. Tell me, was room 417 part of the meeting? Her face went pale. Her purse slipped from her shoulder and hit the floor. What? I held the photos out. Her eyes darted to them, then back to me, wide, terrified. I can explain, she whispered. I shook my head. No more explanations. No more stories. I know. Her mouth trembled. She took a small step back. Please? Don't, I said sharply. Just, don't. She covered her face with both hands. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I stared at the woman I married, and felt nothing. I trusted you, I said quietly. I know, she choked. You told me not to overthink it. She froze. And finally her lies collapsed. I turned away, because now, there was only one step left. The truth had arrived, and nothing could hide it anymore. She stood there, shaking, lips trembling like the truth had finally caught up to her. Her eyes searched mine, desperate to find the softness that used to be there. It wasn't. Not anymore. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Sit, I said. She obeyed instantly, like she knew there was no more running. No more lines to recite. No more stories to stitch together. I placed the photos on the table between us. She stared at them, tears streaming silently. How long? I asked. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. 6 months, she whispered. I felt the number hit me like a quiet punch. Why him? I asked. Her hands clenched around each other. I don't know. I felt seen. Important. And you were busy. You didn't notice when I started slipping. I almost laughed, because I had noticed. I noticed every late night, every softened tone, every lie wrapped in reassurance. You could have talked to me, I said. I know, she whispered. I was afraid. I thought if I said it out loud, it would make it real. It was real the moment you chose him, I replied. She started crying harder, wiping her face over and over. I never wanted to hurt you. People always say that. As if wanting excuses the doing. What now? She asked. The words were fragile. Hopeful. Terrified. I leaned back, looking at the woman who once felt like home. There's no we after this, I said firmly. She flinched. You betrayed us. Both of us. And whatever we had, it's gone. I'll change, she whispered. I'll do anything. No, I said quietly. No more promises. No more fixes. We're past that. Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. She buried her face in her hands, shoulders shaking. I stood. I'll stay at Tyler's tonight, I said. We can talk about next steps later. She looked up, eyes red and pleading. Please don't leave. Not tonight. But I was already walking away. Past the photographs. Past the ghost of what we used to be. I grabbed a small bag and headed for the door. As I reached it, she said quietly, I never stopped loving you. I paused. Not because it mattered, but because I wanted to remember the moment I realized love is not enough to undo a choice. I nodded once. Then I left. Tyler opened the door before I could knock twice. He didn't ask questions. Just pulled me into a hug. I stood there, letting myself exhale for the first time all day. You did the hardest part, he said. It doesn't feel like it, I murmured. It will, he replied. Inside, I sat on his couch, staring at nothing. The house was quiet, but for the first time the quiet didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a beginning. In the days that followed, things moved fast. Paperwork, separations, conversations. She tried to apologize again and again. Not to fix things, but to make peace with her guilt. I listened when needed. But nothing she said changed the fact that trust, once cracked, shatters clean. Friends were shocked. Some took sides. Many just stayed silent. I didn't care. For the first time in a long time, my life felt honest. Not easy. Not painless. But real. I rented a small apartment. Started over. Rebuilt the pieces of myself she had chipped away with every lie. Some nights were hard. Lonely. Quiet. But I learned to breathe in that quiet. To hear myself again. Sometimes healing isn't loud. Sometimes it's just choosing peace over answers. And if there's one thing I know now, it's this. When someone tells you, don't overthink it, and their actions scream otherwise, listen to the actions. Because the truth will always find a way to speak. Even if it takes a second phone to hear it.